Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
No. No. No, it's the final no. And I haven't read the manga, so I'm like, I'm just waiting.
Well, Dave, now you got plenty of time and the internet. Go for it.
Honestly,
I've been waiting for the anime.
read the manga so you don't get spoiled in the interim, because you're going to get spoiled otherwise.
Yeah,
so it's better
much.
spoil yourself than to let other people spoil you.
So
And
joining us.
Borrow it from the library, or borrow it from a friend, or pay for it. We do want to support the people
Probably
making
pay
this
for
so
it.
they continue to make it.
Is there an actual subtitle of the newest stuff for like that you can pay for?
No,
I don't
it's
think
all
there
fan
is.
subs.
Yeah, it's all fan subs. All right, so joining us today, John Quick,
How you guys doing?
Katie Cullen,
Hi, all my buddies.
Megan Salinas,
Hey guys.
and I'm Dave Klein for the final episode of the first season, and I believe on the phone already. Really quick, we already have on with us J. Michael Tatum, aka Commander Erwin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate it. And this was a big episode for your character, the final episode of the season.
Yeah, I think it was a big episode for many of the characters. Well, the ones that are still standing, anyway.
And the last episode for a few.
So you're a stated anime fan. So did you know how big Attack on Titan was before you got the role for Commander Erwin?
Oh, yeah. You know, and I think I would have been aware of how big it was even if I hadn't been an anime fan, because I had just I've encountered a lot of shows, obviously, in my time, both that I've worked on and that I've just come to because I love anime. But Attack on Titan was one of those shows that it felt like I was hearing about it from everybody, even in like your non-traditional anime circles. Like I would hear about it from a friend of a friend who, as far as I knew, had never watched an anime in his or her life. And they'd be like, "Are you going to get the show? Are you going to work in the show? You're not in the show?" And I was like, "I will slow down, kid. I don't know."
Like that's a lot of pressure.
And, so by the time I was given it to work on as an adaptive writer, I guess I've been hearing about it from it seemed like everybody had been talking about it for the better part of 6 months. So by the time I knew I'd be working on the show as the lead adaptive writer, when I got that call, I quietly assented to work on it and then hung up the phone and did a little cartwheel in my hotel room.
Like actual cartwheel?
An actual cartwheel. Well, I mean,
I'm impressed.
I'm going to call it. I remember it as a cartwheel. I don't know. Someone looking in on my room might call it something else, but my vanity wants to call it a cartwheel.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. I'm okay with that.
So what I'm really curious about is we've talked to a lot of voice actors on the show, but we haven't talked to any adaptive writers. So I'm really curious what that process is like for you and how you tackle it, especially on a show like Attack on Titan.
Well, it's different. I mean, it's by and large, adaptive writers are, our job, and we see it as our job to try to give these incredible franchises, these shows, a home in English. It's never seen as something like, oh, we're going to make this better, we're going to do this. It's just like, this is an amazing concept. The original Japanese is just phenomenal. And we want to, be part of it in some way. And so we know that we want to help bring it to a wider audience who might otherwise be dissuaded from watching it because of the language barrier.
Right.
So our job is basically, it's easy in the sense that it's not up to us who lives or dies, the girl or the guy, it's not up to us. And what we do have, but we at the same time, it's our main concern, really our only concern, is to kind of give the characters a convincing voice in a new language, and that can be very challenging because there are so many differences in the way Japanese and English work, not only on like a grammatical, structural level, but also in terms of how they create mood and atmosphere, how characters use language to reveal themselves or to the audience. Both languages, Japanese and English, have matured over the centuries into very, very different wealths of tropes and things that to each native ear just means this. Like a rose means something very differently, or it can come to mean very different things metaphorically and otherwise in English than it can in Japanese, because the two languages just approach it from a different perspective. So and when we're working as an adaptive writer, all we have is language. Like I said, we don't get to decide how the plot unfolds. We have to make sure that within the scaffolding, the plot structure, that the characters will come off to an English-speaking audience as real and persuasive and have depth. And that can be, that's the joy of it. As a writer, I love character. That's what brings me to the table as a writer and as a reader. So character is my specialty.
Yeah.
So it is kind of nice not to have to worry about plot. It's like, oh, someone else has done all that heavy lifting. Now I can just focus on giving the characters dimension, and but it comes with a challenge too, because especially in the case of Tatum, there are many times I'm like, man, if I was making this show, I love this particular character so much, I wouldn't have killed them off so soon. Why?
Oh wow.
Tetra, no.
You really sucked into it watching it, because you watch it as an audience member first when you're working on it as an adaptive writer. So my job is to go through and watch the entire series, and then suddenly I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god,
So do you actually speak Japanese and write Japanese as well?
No. I maybe speak enough Japanese to get myself into some really, really deep trouble over it, and not enough to be an expert, not enough to look at a particular word in Japanese and give you a fourth level meaning definition of it.
Is that a story behind that?
At Funimation, we have a team of translators who are really, that's their expertise. They know not only the language, but they understand the cultural references.
Okay, that's good.
The sort of this vocabulary of imagery and poetic tropes that kind of infuse their language. They go, well, this means this, and the equivalent might be this. So we work with a team of translators who give us as close as humanly possible to a direct translation. Yeah. And then we work from that material to make it sound at home in English, I guess, because a straight translation delivered in the booth by a voice actor rarely sounds like they're really speaking English anymore. It sounds, strange and alien, and it kind of takes you out of the moment. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of people involved in that adaptive process. We lead writers, or we adaptive writers are just part of it.
How worried do you get, especially with how as a show like this, fans are really into it and dig into every little bit and piece and detail? Do you ever get worried when you're working on that adaptive screenplay that there might be one small detail that, maybe 3 seasons later or something, just something that has more significance than you might realize, that as you're adapting it might get changed in the process? How much care do you take into that, and how do you ever get worried that you might somehow switch something around slightly to adapt it for our audience?
Oh God, yeah, it's I I think I speak for most of us in this business, are painfully aware of how easy it is to misstep and get a tiny detail wrong that seems really insignificant in one place, but might come back to bite us in the ass, 2 years later in season 4. We try our best. We try to be very, very careful, and we go over the original material with a fine-tooth comb to take away, okay, that seems like they're going to do something with that. So we need to be very, very close to pay very close attention to any references. And it's not as though the Japanese give us the stuff and say, have fun figuring out what we want you to do. With us too. And make sure, that we don't, oh no, actually don't do that. This is, we were going somewhere else with that. That rarely happens in my experience. And luckily, just because of the way the anime storytelling style works, it's rare that as a writer that I've encountered details like that gotten even slightly askew from the original translation can overturn a story. It doesn't really happen, because it's most of the shows I've encountered, for all their outward trappings, they're still very character driven, and as long as you're true to the character and to the I guess the extent to which and the speed at which their motivations are revealed to the audience over time. Whether you're true to that, it's really hard to run foul of the creator's original vision. And that's good. I mean, because I think it's something I've commented on before, but I think it bears repeating that, you know, when I go to anime conventions, I have it confirmed for me every single time that this is very much a character-driven artistic industry. You know, people cosplay as characters. You know, I don't see anyone dressed up as an explosion or a plot twist.
Well, I dressed up as Shiganshina District last time I went.
I've seen a few people dressed up like that, actually. They have the poster, and then they have the colossal Titan mask, and when you take their picture, they just peek over the top of the poster. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that does sound incredible.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That was the one good thing about that particular con, was that cosplay.
Well, speaking of characters, when did you decide to start auditioning for the role as well? Obviously, you got the part to, you were able to get involved on the writing process. How did the audition process go?
Well, the audition process, you know, as a writer, it's out of my hands. You know, I do, usually it works so that, the way the whole process of writing and recording works, let me kind of give you some insight into that. Generally, when recording is started, there is only about 6 to 7 adapted scripts ready to go into the booth.
Yeah.
So once the show is cast, you know, we continue writing, obviously, staying just a few episodes ahead of where they are in the booth, so that there's a great deal of overlap, you know. And so I was playing Erwin and also writing the show together at the same time for, you know, several months. So when I started writing, you know, I try to, as an actor, I'm so anxious of, you know, jinxing myself or jinxing my chances of getting work that I try not to hone in on a character and go, oh, I want to play that guy. Like, that sounds really interesting, because, you know, it's just going to break your heart when you don't get it. And 9 times out of 10, you don't. It's just the way this business is. So I try to focus on just writing it and kind of getting my head around every character as a writer, so that, you know, I can just kind of get through the writing process. And then when I get called into audition, as everyone did, because this show has a huge set of recurring characters. I think last count it was something like 76 characters who are in more than one episode. You know, and that includes like people that are like, you know, just saying something on the side of the screen or something that yet come back. I mean, there's just a huge cast. So I figured, I'm like, I'll probably be something in this, because I don't think there are that many. I don't think there are enough North American voice actors to fill every shoe. And when I got Erwin, I was kind of surprised, you know, because I auditioned for several parts, and I didn't necessarily feel that I was right for any of them, because, well, that's me as a writer speaking, though, because there's nothing more stressful than working on a show as an actor that you've also been the adaptive writer on, because then you've got no scapegoat in the booth if you can't make a line work. You know, it's very stressful. So I'm like, oh, please don't pick me, please don't pick me, please don't pick me. Oh, great, I'm playing Erwin, damn it. And
Who wrote this?
And the actor and me was like, yes, I'm playing Erwin, kick ass.
So like, we need a new adaptive writer in here for this.
I need to write really good lines for my character.
I mean, I have every time that I would be in recording for Erwin. Mike McFarlane, the show's director, as well as Jean, would record me, and we have this very humorous relationship. We love to just pick on each other in the booth, because that's just who we are. And so I'll be in there, and he'll be like, wow, I'm having trouble reading the line you wrote. I'm like, who wrote this crap? that would come up at least once every single time.
Yeah,
but,
nice.
But of all the characters I could have chosen to, you know, if I could have chosen for myself, I think Erwin is probably the one I might have picked for myself, just because I felt like he is one of the easiest. And I don't say that out of disrespect. I just say that relative, like, he doesn't do nearly as much screaming as everyone else does. Yeah. You know, he doesn't have nearly the line count. So it's not an intensive process. You know, I have nothing but respect for like Bryce Papenbrook and Josh Greeley. and she needed to grow because they're line counts. But there's so much screaming, so much desperate, shrill, just vocal cord shredding screaming. And I'm like, I want the character that doesn't do a lot of screaming. I think Erwin had like one line where he had to say fire really, really loud. That was as uncomfortable as it got for me. So I think that's the role I would have chosen for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, actually, that's a great point about that character, though. He really is one of the few characters who commands so much respect from people he doesn't have to speak of, which we don't see in this world.
He makes the lines count.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't speak much, and that makes him interesting for me to play as a human being, because I am not a man of few words. So I really have to kind of dig deep to get around this cipher of a man that commands so much respect, but on so little expression. Like even an audience member, as the audience watching the show, it takes you some time to warm up to Erwin, I find, because you think, I don't know about this guy. He just seems kind of just like distant from everything. Like, is he crazy? Is he shell shocked? Is he to be trusted? But then, there are a couple of, then some big things happen, and you see how he responds as a leader in the moment under duress, and you go, okay, that's why he can get away with saying very little, because anyone that's spent any amount of time with him in battle knows that this is your pillar, this is your rock.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating. It's fascinating for that reason, because everyone else is shrieking and running for their lives and sweating bullets, waiting for like the next Titan attack, Erwin is like alarmingly calm.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder as an actor, like, where does he go in his own mind? Where does he go in himself to draw from to get that level of serenity when he's surrounded by so much death?
Yeah, I mean, this episode we just watched is a perfect example of that, where Erwin, things seem like they didn't go so well with the female Titan in this last episode, and Erwin's called in by his superiors and still completely calm about everything, and you feel like he's got it under control regardless. But we actually do have to, speaking of the last episode, we actually do need to continue our wrap-up for our show, but thank you so much for calling in. It was so great talking to you.
No problem. Thanks for letting me ramble. I ramble, guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Very interesting.
It was awesome. Where can fans go if they want to find out more about you?
Nowhere. I'm a mystery. No, I'm kidding.
A mystery wrapped inside an enigma.
I have a Twitter. It's J. Michael Tatum, Twitter.com, and I have a Facebook page. And apart from that, I am just kind of around. I like to be mysterious, so catch me if you can.
Okay.
All right.
See you at the con.
Thank you so much.
My name is Tom Hanks, and I will do that. All right. See you later. Thank you so much. All right. So that again,
Tom Hanks?
J. Michael. Catch Me If You Can, the movie.
Leonardo DiCaprio was actually the reference that you wanted to go with.
No,
there.
wasn't Leonardo the one who was getting caught?
Yeah, he was
Leonardo
getting caught
by
DiCaprio
Tom
was the
Hanks.
guy getting caught by Tom Hanks.
So if I'm saying I was Tom Hanks, I was searching for him, who was Leonardo
Hey,
DiCaprio.
Dave, look how many steps we had to take to get that joke.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, that was
Megan
almost...
got it right away, so...
I still feel like we need the little sound effect, the womp womp womp.
Honestly,
It's okay,
I just
you
wanted to know
tried.
what the story was with
That's the
Thank
one.
you.
I thought it was pretty quick, and I don't care what you guys
I
say.
just want to know what the story was with him getting in trouble in Japan.
Yeah.
Let's be real. That's what I want to know.
Sounds like a fun story.
All right, so let's go ahead and move forward to actually talking about the episode. So we've got we've actually start with the wall here. Well, the priest of the wall, the church of the wall, essentially.
I'm so happy. This should not have been as funny as it was, but this was hilarious because we get to see wall church. We get to see, and we pray to the three saints and the divine architect, and they keep us safe in proportion to our worship. All hail! And then the Titan comes straight through and just massacres everyone on impact, except for the three priests who were standing there like, what just happened?
Well, they were standing off to the side.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mid-sentence massacre. It was comedic timing is what this was, and that's why it was hilarious.
And
I do love death.
Really funny last week because we had Lauren, watching with us, and all of us have seen the show before, and so it gets to that part where Annie crashes into the church, and all of us are just like, ooh, because we know exactly what happened at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that also gives you some insight too, because last episode when we saw the church, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. It's just like, Godzilla just smashing the buildings thing, and this will give you insight too. That's probably what it's like every single time they crash into a building throughout this episode.
And they crash
something like
through
that.
a lot of buildings.
Well, I remember when they go to that tower where she drags her fingers across the tower, we just see like military police going flying
everywhere.
They got to the market right in front of the wall and just took out all of the
bashing into people.
Yep.
What?
My cabbages!
Yeah, I like it. It's Avatar, Last Airbender.
Thank you. I'll be here until probably about 10 minutes from now.
I'm sorry, John. I've never seen The Last Airbender, so I don't get the reference.
Well, that is your fault, Dave. That is totally your fault.
That was a direct reference that most people will understand.
How is that any more direct?
He gets it.
Anyway, but what's interesting to note is after she does crash into the church, she sees the kind of death and destruction, and in her own way kind of tries to minimize it. I mean, she's not exactly avoiding the military police or going to avoid crashing into buildings, but she sees that and goes, maybe this isn't the best place to hang out and fight.
Hey, there's a football field or something. Let's go there.
Yeah.
But it's not like Dragon Ball Z where you can just fly to a remote desert somewhere.
To this big place on Earth that doesn't exist. Oh, look, it's right over there. That one, yeah.
Well, when you fly that fast, it's all good. It works. So, yeah, they end up doing this chase.
She did go flying at some point.
Yes, she did.
Well, yeah.
And as this is all happening, the scouts are trying to help the situation. They really can't do much. And you got the military police trying to put on their gear.
Really can't do much.
Trying to.
I haven't put this on since college, guys. What do I do?
It's more high school, really.
Yeah,
like junior
we're
high.
15.
It's like practicing math again. Like, oh crap, what's algebra? Oh,
How do
it's
I
been a
solve
while.
for X?
Dude,
My
I
life
did
depends on
calculus
it.
in high school.
I did too.
That
but,
was murder.
Yeah.
They're just standing in the middle of the street doing it, and they did not hear the getting closer. Like,
But the thing is, it's all around them. The vibrations. How can you tell at that point?
I don't know. They do it in Jurassic Park.
There's a military police. They're drunk and stupid.
So as this fight's going on, we have on the other side, we have Niall still holding Commander Erwin hostage and still unsure what to do as he's getting this information about the Titan battle now that's going on. And ending up basically questioning if he should kill Erwin or not, and Erwin just being like, well, why don't you just make your own decision. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Absolutely love that the guy, Niall is basically getting ready to murder him, and he's like, okay, if that's your decision, that's totally okay. I totally accept that. You're going to be in charge in my stead. Do this and do this.
This guy's in charge of this. This guy's in charge of that. And here's the thing you need to know.
Right.
And immediately Niall backpedals and goes, wait, no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want that responsibility.
He called his bluff, and it was beautiful. It's like, okay, you're in charge. I don't want it.
I think he was just making Niall aware of the situation. Niall was just like, I should execute you right now for doing this. Okay, but before you should do that, there's still like machinations going. So those kind of got to keep rolling.
Here's A, B, and C going on. Just so you know, have fun with that.
It's more like
It's not going to be my problem pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more like A through M, really.
Yeah, a whole lot. So after that, he decides, okay, maybe I'll just arrest you instead. And Erwin asking Levi to step back, saying like, hey, if you died now, it'll be a pity. And Levi with a great line of just like, well, every death's been pointless.
Yeah, a pointless death wouldn't suit you. You're right. Doesn't suit anyone else either.
Yeah, so...
And
That was a really good line.
Attack on Titan. Pointless death.
That's basically it in a nutshell,
We
yeah.
were watching the opening theme, and I was like, hey, look at all the dead people. That's this entire series, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Look at all the dead people.
sad.
That's just the opening screen. Hey, look at all the soon-to-bes.
Well, at this point, it really is. Look at all the dead people.
So as they're all trying to figure out, scramble how to help, and Armin explained like, hey, to Mikasa, there's not much you can do. It's just there's two Titans fighting. We really can't do anything in here. In this situation, we do have Aaron and Annie duking it out, with Annie at first getting the upper hand, beating the crap out of Aaron as she's having flashbacks to her father training her, and we get a little bit more of her story. When Aaron goes DBZ Super Saiyan.
Psychobilly fire.
Yeah, the lights on fire. So
Psychobilly freak out.
He is burning with desire, both figuratively and literally. It
He's
is.
just burning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Just fire. How is that possible? I mean, I guess it makes sense. Annie has, you know, ice powers randomly.
Well,
and
she has like a hardening crystal ability, but we see that like the Titans are naturally like hotter. Like when Hanji like touched his like exposed Titan flesh, he burned her hand. So the Titans, and they have steam coming off them. The Titans' internal body temperature is just higher, and maybe it responds to emotion. So, you know, Aaron just hit combustion level.
that makes sense, actually, in its own way.
also, I think his fangs grew a little bit, maybe, or we just see them a whole lot.
Well, and
We just see them a whole lot.
They cease becoming teeth, and they do kind of become fangs.
Yeah.
They just get
Yeah.
pointy.
He does regrow about half of them in the middle of the fight.
and like it's funny because his eyes are like green half the time, and then they're like really bright, like white or whatever. He's on fire.
They're glowing. His
yeah.
eyes are glowing, his everything's glowing, and he is full of murder.
And that's when he starts to take the hell out of Annie, so she tries to escape, and Mikasa's there to cut her fingers off. Thanks,
Well,
Mikasa.
she runs towards the wall, and he goes galumphing after her
Yeah.
on one arm and one leg, and it's like something out of a horror movie.
It's
where it
pretty
looks
great.
human, but it doesn't move like that. It's like The Exorcist or The Ring. It's like, you're supposed to be human. What are you doing?
We're not supposed to
And
do
then it
that.
gouges her eyes out.
Yeah, he like crunches
He crushed
her face.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah,
And
that
honestly,
was.
I think that really served to dehumanize her to the audience, because you're still thinking that's Annie in there, and you can see it in the facial structure, and you can see it in the eyes, and then he crunches her face, and she looks completely different, and she no longer has that beauty, and she no longer looks familiar.
I think it's
she
the
looks
exact
like
opposite.
a monster.
Well, she looked afraid, like, afterwards. Like,
Yeah, no,
genuine.
I didn't think that was meant to dehumanize her. I think that was more to show how far, for one, Aaron was willing to go.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, it was to get that more emotional, kind of visceral response out of the audience, because it's like, that's her face, and that hurts a lot.
I'm just talking about afterwards.
No,
Every shot they
I
showed
disagree.
afterwards.
I think that's more about like, holy crap, look at what Aaron did.
I
as
thought it was
opposed-
about that moment, yeah.
Yeah.
What I got out of it was more just the fear that all of a sudden imparted in her after seeing it.
Yeah, because
That's what Aaron will turn into. It's funny because I was thinking, like, well, who's the monster here in that situation? As you see Aaron screaming in his Titan inside of him,
yeah.
it's like he comes across far more as a monster than Annie had before.
And again, even just kind of getting to the wall, you know, she's the one trying, perhaps, you know, maybe that's not, maybe obviously escape is her main goal, but we do see her trying to, in her own way, minimize casualties, and Aaron doesn't care. He's just plowing through everything to get to her because he's just so enraged. And yeah, it's kind of, it's more terrifying to see him than it is to see her,
Oh,
because
yeah.
she's on the defensive. She's the one trying to escape.
Well, and the flip side of this is she has most likely had a lot more time to practice in her Titan form and have a lot more control. And Aaron, this is like, what, the 4th or 5th time he's transformed. He's still working on it.
Well-
and his goal was, I'm going to fight her, I'm going to kill her. So that's the one thing that's forefront in his mind.
Even though he's the protagonist, though, like, and we get his inner monologue going, you know, I'll kill them all, I'll kill them all. Simultaneously, we're getting her flashbacks, and so she's becoming more humanized as he's becoming more animalistic.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's a great point, and we probably should move
Yeah,
on really
sorry,
quickly. No, it's all
sorry.
good, but I mean, we should talk about that flashback real quick, though, which is that it's Annie's father apologizing, saying, stand your ground. Even if the world is against you and they'll despise you, you'll always have me. But just that really great flashback that, again, I agree with you, humanizes her and makes it be like, oh, you see where she's coming
Yeah.
from.
Well, it lets us know, because the whole running thing has been like, in order to win this war, we have to abandon our humanity. And Aaron's abandoning his humanity and winning. Annie is gaining her humanity and losing. That is so depressing.
Yeah, I guess that's a
I'm
good
gonna
point.
cry now.
Yeah, and even when you know he rips open, you know, the female Titan exterior and finds her underneath, she's crying.
Yeah.
She's weeping. And that's what causes him to hesitate.
Yeah, he does end up giving pause. So he still does have that bit of humanity in him, which causes him to then lose. So then he loses as she turns into crystal form and actually somehow starts merging with him or something to that extent.
I think it was the hardening technique.
Was like merging over Aaron at the same time.
Yeah.
Possibly. So it's what it does is just she ends up casting this crystal and crystallizing herself into this hard form. It basically completely preserves her, but also completely stops her from having anything. She can't get out. It seems like no one can get in. She's completely separated.
In Final Fantasy terms, she casts Shell, level 5.
Yeah, but this one ain't leaving.
Yeah, that's true.
Nope.
But that makes me wonder if she has the power at any point to get herself out of it, or if she is literally trapped. Because obviously nobody can get in, and for all intents and purposes, she looks like she's asleep. But I'm wondering if she has the power to just sort of turn it off whenever she wants.
Yeah, that's something that's definitely worth questioning.
I don't know if she doesn't seem like she's aware. It looks like she's just like basically taking the cyanide pill.
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, at this point it's really hard to tell. But Aaron wakes up as Jean is trying to bust her out and can't get to her, and Hanji's really worried here because without being able to question Annie, that means that they lost. I mean, that's what this was all about, was trying to capture her to be able to question her. Yeah, the scouts have nothing, essentially. So, Erwin gets questioned by the higher-ups about what was this all for? Why should we not unsanction you? Why should we externate you for everything that's happened? And he's being tried really hard about this, and his reasoning is, and honestly, I think any audience would be like, come on, to the higher-ups.
Things.
Yeah.
So many things were learned.
The scouts are the only ones doing anything, but of course the higher-ups in this world are incredibly infuriating.
Well, you saw the guy's like, I'm grasping at straws to exonerate you. It's like, it's very clearly that this guy's just like, okay, I know since I'm a military guy that what you did was probably the right thing, but I gotta justify this to a lot of civilians who just watch their families die, so give me something.
And even one of the council members was like, that's not gonna fix my roof. Just saying.
Congratulations, now you know what it's like to live on the outer walls.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I like as he says,
Deal with it.
It's like that. It's like, I lost my roof. It's like, we saw so many people die. Like, there couldn't have been. It's just like, well, that's not going to bring my daughter back. It's like, this guy's like, oh, my roof.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing of all the things.
It's forever to reshingle.
Yeah.
I think that also highlights just how completely disconnected from reality most of this council and most of the people in the inner wall and the financially higher up are.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same as the merchant who way back when was trying to get his cart through and preventing people from evacuating.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think it just shows just how incredibly distant it is. But
in fairness, it was a really nice cart.
There's also a really nice roof.
Really nice roof.
Yeah, that roof was incredible. I mean, did you see that job? It took like months. So
it was like the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, it was incredible. They carved it out of stone. So Erwin,
why would you carve your roof out of stone?
Because if you can get it to stand up,
so it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So
and then put it on top of a wood house.
Erwin pointing out...
That guy's house is probably not what it would anyway.
Erwin pointing out here that essentially we've all moved forward by leaps and bounds, and we now know the Titans are in our wall, which is something we didn't know before. So now we know that because of Annie, and now we're going to take the initiative. So there's all these things that we've learned. Essentially what you say, Kay, that they've learned so much. And now we can actually move forward from here. So this is actually great because of all the information that we got and that we've learned through all of this.
Gotta love it when you can spin a pirate victory. That's always a good day.
I mean, I say, like, it really is still, you stopped one of the inner Titans that even if you didn't get any information out of them, that was one of the Titans who was against you. It's like killing a spy. I mean, it's still, I'd call it a victory if you got rid of a spy. So regardless, that's how he moves forward and gets them exonerated. And on the flip side, we've got Aaron with Mikasa, Armin, and Jean, as Aaron explained that he froze when he saw Annie's face, and him getting some alone time with Mikasa. It's a nice little tender moment between the two of them there.
Yeah, I know, it was just really sweet, and now that we've gotten to talk to Trina, it's nice to. It's like, oh, okay, this is a brotherly, sisterly moment.
I still don't buy it. I still don't buy it.
You're allowed to ship what you
like.
like.
Trina didn't write it. Trina hasn't written it. She's just saying her perspective.
Well, Mike also told her that.
Mike didn't write it either.
He's the director.
But he didn't write it. Who knows what the writer of the manga has planned for season 3?
Well, the manga doesn't have nearly the shippy stuff that the anime does, so there's also that.
I think that's mostly us shipping it. Also too.
Guys, let him ship it. It's okay.
He's allowed to ship what he likes, even if he's wrong.
Can't I just have some love in my heart?
No.
In a show.
Continue on. Go your march forward with your heart empty and no one to love you.
We have to abandon our humanity if we're going to cover this show.
Oh, good point. Okay, so
does that mean we've all lost?
I think it does. So for the most part, that basically on that note, Jean doesn't like that as fire versus fire, as Armin has to explain. He's glad that Aaron can finally do things. So we get the final part of this episode is the wall close up with something they didn't show in the Cartoon Network version, really. But
they killed the stinger in the Cartoon Network version. And this was really sad. So for those of you who are watching on Cartoon Network and haven't watched this before, we're about to blow your minds.
So watch it on Hulu or Netflix where they showed it because it was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Inside the wall, it crumbles over and you find out that the wall is made up of titans.
Or colossal
class titans.
Yeah. There are titans in the wall. Part of the wall where Annie had been climbing falls away and you just see an eye.
And
That's not okay.
Which, oddly enough, if you guys remember in the opening, there is a scene where it's just like a painting on a wall of looks like massive giants, like arms out right next to each other going across. It's there for briefly. I remember seeing it. So
and that's the point where, you know, if you haven't read the manga and you're watching this show, where you just want to throw something at your television because it's like end of season, end of series, and at that point, you know, season 2 hadn't been announced or anything, so you just want to throw something at your TV because it's like, what does that even mean?
It's like, that's it. I'm gonna go read a lot of manga.
So on that note, let's do predictions real quick for at least I can do predictions. I haven't seen or read anything. Maybe it's only me. Have you guys all read the manga?
Yes.
Up to volume 13. I'm not completely caught up with
everything that has been published and released in America.
I guess I'm the only person who can say anything then.
Go ahead.
All right.
Let's hear it.
So here's some guesses. I already know more about some of the Titan stuff, so I'm not going to say that end. But I predict that we're going to get more turmoil with the higher-ups, and again, they're going to be colossal douches and completely screw everything over for everybody, as they always do, while the scouts try to move forward with things. I think we're going to actually see some real characters dying in the second season. I'm talking about characters that you've known for more than 3 episodes and aren't red shirts. The 3 main characters, well, Marco, I mean, we've known him for like 5 episodes, maybe. I think at this point we were connected to people a lot more than Marco. When Marco died the first time I watched it, I was like, But I think, although Mikasa, Eren, and Armin are definitely going to survive, they're going to go on a quest for the key. I don't think they're going to find it, though, for a long time. I think that's going to probably be a Season 3 thing. I don't think they're even going to find it in Season 2.
What do you think is in the basement?
I don't think we're going to find out.
Science!
But, yeah, just science!
Here's what I'm predicting, that at some point, and it's probably going to be a long time, we're going to go to Annie's homeland.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The Titan shifters, where they come from, we're going to find it.
This is such a hard show to predict, though, because it really is off the wall. But just real quick before we wrap up, I do want to thank some of you guys who've been commenting on YouTube, because we do read all of them, even if we don't have the time to respond. Master Gamer 98-007, Mark W, The Young Genin Sasuke, Andrew Fedge, Lado Azul, Jesse T, James Smith, Mary Rurua, Screaming Dean, Eva Beals, Wilkes Heine, Osgand, Steven Schumann. There's a lot of names. Tracy Martinez, you've commented a bunch. Wanted to thank you. Joss Cap, Joseph Ortiz, Titiana Ragland, Shot Rage, and then there are a bunch more of you. Thank you guys so much. I just can't read off everybody. But thank you guys so much.
I'm fond of Baron of Hell.
Yes, but we do read all of your comments, so thank you guys. So once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That's Klein.
I'm Megan. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin.
I'm John Quick. You can find me on Twitter at @NowQuick and the Legend of Korra After Panel. See you guys in an hour.
I'm Katie Cullen. You can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet. I'm also on Sword Art Online and Z Nation.
And that wraps up Attack on Titan for this season. So next season can't come soon enough. Really though. Really. See you guys next season. Bye guys. Later.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later. later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.